Hi, I'm Samuel Prather, founder of Go Music and Reason user since 2003. Welcome to A Reason to Create. Today I wanted to talk about the sonic space and the way that harmonic instruments sometimes fight for that space when there's more than one that are in the same frequency range. Are you a guitar player? Have you ever been in that situation where you play a chord and the keyboard player plays a chord that's just a little bit different and it sounds weird? Or maybe you're a keyboard player and you're playing rhythm stuff and the guitar player is too and it sounds too busy and people tell you turn down or turn off. Are you a keyboard player and found yourself being yelled at to just play pad? All right, these are the problems that happen on the bandstand, and they also happen in the production side as well. So I want to talk about how to remedy that today. Even though this problem is very common in the live music scene, it is equally common in the recorded music scene. I just don't think that it's talked about the same way, because the main difference between the two is just that when you're live, there's not a ceiling on how loud you can be, but when you're recording, there is. So for our purposes today, I want to break down the types of instrumentation that you can have into three categories. Something can either be a lead, a rhythm, or a pad. And that doesn't mean that it has to stay that way the whole song. It doesn't mean that only an instrument can be those things, but it does mean that those are the three main things that should be happening at once, and probably not two separate instances of either happening at the same time. So let's talk about what those three terms mean. When I say rhythm, pad, and lead, what exactly am I talking about? Well, lead is whatever's supposed to be heard first. It carries the melody. So if it's a vocal tune, then it's the lead vocal. That needs to be up front and be able to be understood if there's lyrics. If it's an instrumental tune, then it might be a saxophone or guitar. It might be any instrument. We don't want our lead to have to compete with another lead. It's fine to trade with another lead, but we don't want them to have to compete. Rhythm is anything that's being played in a percussive manner. It can be rhythm guitar, it can be drums, it can be percussion, it can be keyboard. Anything can be percussive if it's played in a percussive way. So if you already have something that's really heavy on percussion, then it's probably not a good idea to play some completely different rhythmic pattern if it's not related, because that can get busy really fast. The last of the three is pad. And we call it pad like something you can lay on. It's like a bed. It's something that's soft. It's something that doesn't necessarily have a sharp attack on the front end in terms of when it comes in. It just kind of is there to sit on like a cloud. Pads can be dynamic. Pads can be airy, or they can be sharp, but generally speaking, they're not in the front of the mix. They're towards the back or spread out on the left and right so that they don't get in the way of the lead. And rhythm cuts through on its own because it's such a direct and sharp attack on it. Pad doesn't have to be synth. Pad can be horns, pad can be strings, it can just be the reverb trail of the lead vocal or the lead horn or whatever that just is so big that it fills up the space. Generally speaking, I try not to have more than one of these three things happening at any given point. The exception to that is doubling. So when you have two instruments playing basically the same part, phrased the same way, tight, then that works well. It's something that you hear a lot with guitar and bass, or maybe piano and bass, in upright bass in jazz situations. That color is fine. That's not what I'm talking about. What I would warn against is having a pad part and then laying another pad part with different notes, completely different in the same frequency range and trying to exist in the same space. That's a recipe for not being able to hear either one of them clearly. Same thing is true with lead and with rhythm. Now, it's important that we don't mistake what is essentially an arrangement decision for a mixing decision. A lot of times that gets mixed up because people think that clarity only comes from the mix and the master, but clarity comes equally, if not more so, from the arrangement of the song in the first place. Yes, a mixing engineer can decide what you hear first and where it sounds like it's coming from, how far away is it, and how much of an effects trail it has on it, those type of things. but it makes it much, much harder to get a clear, punchy mix if these pieces were never thought of beforehand in terms of the way that they're going to fit together. So what this means if you're not an experienced arranger is don't give one of those three parts to more than one person unless they're doubling each other. This goes for live performance too. If you're playing with a keyboard player who's playing like a really percussive kind of pattern on the Rhodes or clavie, that might not be the best time to start chucking rhythm on the guitar. Maybe think about something atmospheric or spacey, right? So that you can have the contrast to that rhythm. And vice versa, if you hear the guitar player playing like a really funky muted line, that might not be the time to start playing another muted line. It would be the time to start thinking about playing a pad sound or playing something that doesn't have that kind of percussive attack to it. And the old adage still holds true whether you're live or you're in the studio. When in doubt, lay out. So just leave out parts that you're not sure that you need when you mix. When you're playing live, do the same thing. Don't play stuff that's not necessary to help push the story of your song forward. Just leave it out. And it'll be that much more impactful when you actually do bring it in. This is actually a big key to pop music success, is that the songs are extremely simple, but they change the instrumentation in very subtle ways as they move through the course of the song. And that gives some dynamics to a song that might otherwise be really flat. The hardest part about this in the live situation is disciplining yourself not to fill up every single hole that's there with whatever kind of musings that you might have. Leave some space for your bandmates, and hopefully they'll appreciate that and leave some space for you as well. Are you a producer? Are you a musician? Do you use these principles when you play live? Tell me what you think in the comments. Definitely, if you like the way I explained things today, make sure to hit the like and subscribe and the bell so you know when I'm coming out with new content. I'm Samuel Prather. Hopefully today I gave you a reason to create.